I'm also really concerned about how you talk about climate change. It's been widely reported that you do not agree with the issues around climate change. You call it something that's been far from settled. This is a quote from you. I think that measuring with precision human activity on the climate is something very challenging to do, and there's tremendous disagreement about the degree of impact. You've also been known to say that there are assumptions being made that because the climate is warming, that it's necessarily a bad thing. A recent article just showed that EPA staffers are given talking points to play down climate change, to say it's not clear that there's a man-made impact, to raise uncertainty. I think we could all give a tremendous number of examples why this is honest and honest faster than we ever imagined, that scientists from around the world are talking to us about this. And I thought I might just quote from a couple of letters I got actually this week. I represent the state of Maine. We are part of the Gulf of Maine, which is warming at a rate about 99% faster than the oceans around the world. Lobster fishing is critical both to our economy, to our tourism business, to our culture. I got these letters from kids who live in fishing community. There's one that said, one of the changes from climate changes is warming waters, rising sea levels, and the migration of lobsters. In around 50 years, the water level will rise and the coast of Maine will be having tropical temperatures, and there will be many new types of fish. There will also be no more native species that were once here because the global temp is going up by 1.8% Fahrenheit since 1880. Climate change is a real thing. It will affect the coast of Maine. There's another kid who said, my grandfather is a second-generation fisherman who lives on one of the islands. Every summer, my cousins come up. We always take a trip out to the island to eat lobsters and camp out. It's a tradition that I know and would like to carry on with my children, but it might not be possible. If the oceans keep warming and pushing lobsters north, there will most likely not be the same island culture that there is today. Lobster fishermen will be replaced by tourists. There'll be no reason for me to return to the island with my children. I mean, that might be through the eyes of children, but if you're not going to listen to scientists, who are you going to listen to? This is what's going on in my state. And how do I go home and tell them that the administrator of the EPA doesn't want to put resources in this, doesn't actually believe in it, and said, oh, maybe we're getting some benefit out of this? How do you defend that?
Well, as I've indicated many times, I've said it over and over again, the climate's warming, and we contribute to it. But what's lost in this discussion is what authority does the EPA have to regulate? The Clean Air Act was
with all due respect, I mean, we're going to talk about a lot of things, CAFE standard, clean power rule. There's a lot of things that you're rolling back actively that I think would have a huge impact if you would stay on the other side.
So there were two efforts made by the previous administration to regulate CO2, and both of them were struck down by the courts.
We'll get creative. There's a lot more we could be doing.
They were creative.
CAFE standards were not struck down by the courts.
But that's not the issue we're talking about here. The tailoring rule that the previous administration adopted with respect to CO2 and then the Clean Power Plan was stayed by the U.S. Supreme Court, and it was unprecedented. That had never happened for the U.S. Supreme Court to issue a stay while a case was pending at the lower court level.
That doesn't allow us to say we're not going to deal with this issue.
I haven't said that. I can only take the steps that Congress authorizes me to take. The fault of the last administration on this issue is they tried to pinch hit for Congress. And I've taken the additional step that no previous Republican administration has actually taken. I've actually introduced an advance notice of proposed rulemaking in the marketplace to solicit comment on our authority to regulate GHG
Excuse me, just I want to finish my comment here. You can say that the fault is the last administration, that they didn't do it right, they were pinch hitting for Congress. But to actively deny that we are now experiencing the effect of climate change, whether it's unexpected weather, whether it's something farmers or fishermen or anyone's experiencing right now, and that we don't have to start preparing for that, and to say that there might be some benefit, which I haven't heard you justify what those benefits are, we don't have time to blame the last Congress. I want to hear some leadership out of you about what we're going to do about it.
We've actually, as a country, reduced our CO2 footprint by almost 20% from the years 2000 to 2014. There was a GHG report that recently came out that showed an additional 2% reduction.
Well, if it's going down from 2000 to 2014 and you're rolling back the standards, we're not moving in the right direction.
Well, the other report recently came out, another 2% reduction. And that's largely through innovation and technology. Actually, it was just the last couple of weeks that occurred. But
I yield back. I don't need to keep going on this, but I just want to be clear. I find those statements unacceptable. I can't go home and tell my district or people that I serve with or young kids in elementary school who are writing me letters that there might be some good impacts to climate change and that it's okay to do nothing about it.
Thank you, gentlelady. Mr.